We are here today to discuss our vision for America's economic revival, which has already started. It started on November 8th. We want lower taxes, bigger paychecks, and more jobs for American truckers and for American workers. It's happening.
President Trump pitching his tax reform just moments ago. Back with me are Tammy Bruce, Maya MacGuineas, and Ford O'Connell. Maya, let me go to you. I think it's pretty clear that something magical happened on Election Day. Now, you know, I do some economic work. Of course, you do. The summer of last year, we started to bubble up, but something took off. Something magical happened with sentiment and optimism. And to me, it's morphing into reality. It's becoming real, tangible. This momentum that we have, how critical is it now that we get through some of the key components of President Trump's economic agenda?
Yeah, I think the optimism that has kind of driven the stock market higher and higher now needs to translate into performance from the policy promises. And what the president has laid out that I really agree with is the need to focus on an agenda to grow the economy. I think tax reform is an excellent place to start on that. I think we'll have to move on to some of the other things he's talked about, regulatory reform, changing how we spend in our tax code to more public investments like infrastructure, reducing the debt. And I do think that those together can help grow the economy. I think the numbers we've heard about are way too optimistic, so let's be realistic on them. But that's the right agenda to pursue. We do need to succeed at this, but I do want to emphasize, if you make it all sound so easy, that you can just do this without paying for it and will magically grow the economy, what we will end up instead is a mountain of debt, which is something that he ran against. And I want to make sure that we're realistic about what we do and how we pay for things so we don't end up with the debt going up by another $10 trillion.
Let me bring in Tammy here for a moment, because we didn't have one single year of 3% GDP growth, and somehow we doubled the national debt. So a lot of people out there are thinking, you know what, maybe we've been putting the cart before the horse. Maybe we've been spending money and doing all of these things that have not worked. Maybe we need to find a way to really get that explosive growth that's been missing from this country for 13 or 14 years.
Well, you know what part of it is, and I think a lot of people couldn't have imagined just since the election, $5 trillion more baked into the economy, just because of the optimism, the potential that exists. What the country is starving for is optimism. That is what drives our economy. And I recognize, of course, the technical aspects of the issue of debt. But we've got to make the American people realize that they can trust at least the president and the president's influence on Congress, what congressional intentions are for the American people, that the American age is not over, that it is the American model that will prevail, that all of this can be done. It's not pie in the sky. It's certainly not easy, but it's fueled by American optimism, and that's what the president brings.
And speaking of the American model, Ford, the rest of the world has watched this for the last 50, 100 years. They get it. President Trump referred to it. They lowered their taxes. They have fewer regulations. Yesterday in the Netherlands, they lowered their business rate to 21% from 25% and gave the wealthy and middle class a tax break. So we're in a competitive world, and we better do something quick to address that.
Well, you're absolutely right, Charles. And to Tammy's point, the optimism is palpable, but we got to keep driving it home. And obviously, if the rest of the world has copied our playbook, we're going to have to become a lot more inventive. One of the things I'd like to see, actually, is this repatriation at 10% of trillions of dollars overseas. But what I don't get is how come we're on a residential tax system where basically income is taxed abroad and at home versus a territorial tax system where you're only taxed abroad? We are one of only 2 countries in the world, Eritrea being the other. And I promise you, most people don't know where that is and why we're still doing what we've been doing for the last 8 years and getting 1.9% growth and arguing about this in Congress is absolutely ridiculous. Let's help put America back to work. Why do we keep thinking that if we run the same playbook, we're going to have different outcome?
Yeah, Eritrea just became a country, in fact, just a few years ago. Before I let you guys go, I'll point out to the audience, when President Bush's repatriation holiday went into effect, in 2003, unemployment rate was 6%. The next year after he put this into effect, it was only 5.1%. It really does work. We created jobs and wealth in this country. You guys are all fantastic. Thank you very, very much.